Shavua Tov, Shalom everybody, and welcome to the Israel Brief, your first port of call for all those top stories making headlines right here in Israel. And of course, we're brought to you by Lay of the Land and hosted by myself, Raleen Mark. So let's get to it. Let's take a look at those top stories. And we begin with a story that we've been covering over the last couple of weeks, and that is the ongoing saga about Miss South Africa. Lalela Mswane, the recently crowned Miss South Africa, is hoping to represent her country next month at the Miss Universe pageant that will be hosted here in Israel in the seaside resort town of Eilat. And for the first time, we look forward to welcoming Miss United Arab Emirates and Miss Morocco, the first time that these two countries will have representatives on the world stage, and where better than in Israel. And there's been a lot of conjecture around the participation of Miss South Africa. Last week we brought you an update where she said she will not be bullied by those minority voices saying that she shouldn't compete. Well, last night South Africa's Ministry of Sport, Art and Culture released a statement saying that they would be withdrawing their support for Miss South Africa, accusing Israel of, amongst other things, practicing apartheid and committing atrocities against Palestinians. Now, we remind you that there are no Miss Palestine entries into Miss Universe. This will be absolutely inconceivable under the current Palestinian leadership, not to mention the fact that there is no state of Palestine. It is really a great sadness that this ministry is saying that they are withdrawing their support, and they're citing the Archbishop Desmond Tutu, he himself, who is known to be a proponent of boycotts against the state of Israel. Now, Tutu was last in Israel in 1989, where at Yad Vashem, our National Holocaust Memorial and Museum, he said that Jews around the world should forgive the Nazis. So this gives you an indication of where the Archbishop is at. But nevertheless, pulling or withdrawing support for Miss South Africa is not in the spirit of what we call Ubuntu, of unitedship, or union. Unitedship, that's a word. I've clearly lived here for too long. But it's not in the spirit, or it's not in the South African spirit of conciliation, and is effectively showing that this ministry is boycotting South African women. We here in Israel hope that Miss South Africa will get to compete. Yesterday, the South African Jewish Board of Deputies, as well as the South African Zionist Federation, lambasted the ministry for this decision, saying that it does not represent the opinion of the majority of South Africans who say she should compete, nor does it represent the spirit of being conciliatory and reaching out to other cultures, and she should have the opportunity to reach her dreams and achievements on a global stage. Earlier today, the Women's International Zionist Organization, WITZO, weighed in, saying that they were looking forward to welcoming Miss South Africa to Israel, and that the Miss Universe pageant, which is not a political entity, should not be the battlefield for those who wish to launch an assault on Israel's legitimacy. And we will be bringing you updates whether or not Miss South Africa will continue to represent her country at the Miss Universe pageant taking place in Eilat next month. For our next story, we go to Poland, and our Foreign Minister Yair Lapid has roundly condemned the rhetoric and anti-Semitism displayed at a neo-Nazi or ultra-nationalist march that took place in Poland over the weekend. The Polish President Andrzej Duda has also weighed in, calling the chants of death to the Jews, the call for intifada in Poland, and the burning of books a treasonous and barbaric act. He has firmly stated that this is not welcome or not representative of Poland, and at least 3 people have been arrested in connection with the demonstration. We now go to the United States Treasury, and the Treasury Department has announced that they will be partnering with Israel on forming a task force to combat ransomware. Ransomware and cybersecurity threats are one of the real threats facing many countries around the world today, and the two countries will be joining together to see how best we can combat the spread of ransomware. And our last story takes us to Myanmar and news that Danny Fenster, a Jewish journalist, has been released and is on his way home. This according to a former US diplomat, after he was sentenced to 11 years in prison for hard labor. He has already served 6 months. He has been accused of spreading false information about the military-ruled country. So those are our top stories making headlines today, but we have original content for you online at our website on www.layoftheland.online. You can read Fionn Grunspan's article about the verbal harassment of our ambassador to the United Kingdom, Tsipi Hotoveli, and what has ensued since. And it's also up on our Facebook page. While you're there, please give us a like or a follow. Let's grow our community and help us out by sharing our content. We are also on YouTube. You can find our channel at The Israel Brief. Please like, share, and subscribe this very brief. And we're on Twitter at layoftheland5. So with the Monday edition of the Israel Brief, I'm Rolene Marks, and I'll bring you your top stories making those headlines tomorrow.